Associated Press show caption hide caption Putin recognizes Ukraine's rebel regions. Russia's President Vladimir Putin recognized the independence of separatist regions in eastern Ukraine and paved the way to provide the separatists with military support. February 22 AP Germany has taken steps to halt the process of certifying the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline from Russia, Chancellor Olaf Scholz said Tuesday, as the West started taking punitive measures against Moscow over the Ukraine crisis. Scholz told reporters in Berlin that his government was taking the measure in response to Moscow's actions in Ukraine. Russia moved quickly Tuesday to secure its hold on Ukraine's rebel regions following the recognition of their independence, with legislation allowing the deployment of troops there in a challenge to Western governments, which are preparing to announce sanctions against Moscow. The new Russian bills, which are set to be quickly rubber-stamped by the Kremlin-controlled parliament, may set the stage for Russian troops to move deeper into Ukraine, as the U.S. and its allies have feared. Quickly after he signed the decree, convoys of armored vehicles were seen rolling across the separatist-controlled territories. It wasn't immediately clear if they were Russian. More, how the Nord Stream 2 pipeline became a bargaining chip in the crisis between Russia and Ukraine. Nord Stream 2 pipeline certification halted. The decision is a significant move for the German government, which had long resisted pulling the plug on the project despite pressure from the United States and some European countries to do so. Washington has for years argued that building another pipeline bringing natural gas from Russia to Germany increases Europe's reliance on Russian energy supplies. Scholz said that the government had decided to reassess the certification of the pipeline, which hasn't begun operating yet, in light of the latest developments. That will certainly take time, if I may say so, he said. Germany meets about a quarter of its energy needs with natural gas, a share that will increase in the coming years as the country switches off its last 3 nuclear power plants and phases out the use of coal. About half of the natural gas used in Germany comes from Russia. More, wake-up call for Americans, Russia, Ukraine in behind-the-scenes lobbying war over Nord Stream 2. Putin recognizes Donetsk, Luhansk. President Vladimir Putin's decision Monday to recognize the rebel regions as independent states follows a nearly 8-year-old separatist conflict that has killed more than 14,000 and devastated Ukraine's eastern industrial heartland called Donbas. The latest developments and move by Putin were met with reprehension by many countries around the world. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said Russia's decision to recognize 2 separatist regions in eastern Ukraine is unacceptable and is calling for a respect of international laws. We consider this decision by Russia as being unacceptable, Erdogan told Turkish journalists while on a tour of Africa. We reiterate our call to the parties to respect common sense and international law. Ever since the conflict erupted weeks after Russia's 2014 annexation of the Ukrainian Crimean Peninsula, Ukraine and its Western allies have accused Moscow of backing the separatists with troops and weapons, charges it has denied, saying that Russians who fought in the east were volunteers. Putin's move Monday formalizes Russia's hold on the regions and gives it a free hand to deploy its forces there. More, Putin orders troops to 2 Ukraine regions after declaring their independence. Several senior lawmakers suggested Tuesday that Russia could recognize the rebel-held territories in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions of Ukraine in their original administrative borders, including the chunks of land now under the Ukrainian control. Blinken to meet Ukrainian counterpart. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky sought to project calm, telling the country in an address overnight, "We are not afraid of anyone or anything. We don't owe anyone anything. And we won't give anything to anyone." His foreign minister, Dmytro Kuleba, will be in Washington on Tuesday to meet with Secretary of State Antony Blinken, the State Department said. More, the enigma of Vladimir Putin. What do we really know about Russia's leader? U.S., EU issues sanctions. The White House responded quickly, issuing an executive order to prohibit U.S. investment and trade in the separatist regions, and additional measures, likely sanctions, were to be announced Tuesday. Those sanctions are independent of what Washington has prepared in the event of a Russian invasion, according to a senior administration official who briefed reporters on the condition of anonymity. Britain and European Union countries have separately indicated that they also are planning to announce sanctions. 2015 peace deal at risk. While Ukraine and the West said the Russian recognition of the rebel regions shatters a 2015 peace deal, Russia's ambassador to the United Nations, Vasily Nebenzia, challenged that, noting that Moscow isn't a party to the Minsk agreement and arguing that it could still be implemented if Ukraine chooses so. The 2015 deal that was brokered by France and Germany and signed in Minsk, the Belarusian capital, required Ukraine to offer a sweeping self-rule to the rebel regions in a diplomatic coup for Russia after a series of Ukrainian military defeats. Many in Ukraine resented the deal as a betrayal of national interests and a blow to the country's integrity, and its implementation has stalled. Putin announced the move in an hour-long televised speech, blaming the U.S. and its allies for the current crisis and describing Ukraine's bid to join NATO as an existential challenge to Russia. More, cyber attacks and disinformation are everyday tactics for Putin's Russia. Is that the future of war? Ukraine's membership in NATO poses a direct threat to Russia's security, he said. Russia says it wants Western guarantees that NATO won't allow Ukraine and other former Soviet countries to join as members, and Putin said Monday that a simple moratorium on Ukraine's accession wouldn't be enough. Moscow has also demanded the alliance halt weapons deployments to Ukraine and roll back its forces from Eastern Europe, demands flatly rejected by the West. Putin warned Monday that the Western rejection of Moscow's demands gives Russia the right to take other steps to protect its security. Sweeping through more than a century of history, Putin painted today's Ukraine as a modern construct used by the West to contain Russia despite the neighbors' inextricable links. In a stark warning to Ukraine, the Russian leader charged that it has unfairly inherited Russia's historic land granted to it by the communist rulers of the Soviet Union and mocked its effort to shed the communist past in a so-called decommunization campaign. We are ready to show you what the real decommunization would mean for Ukraine, Putin added ominously, in an apparent signal of his readiness to raise new land claims. Yuri's Karmanow reported from Kiev, Ukraine. Angela Charlton in Paris, Zeke Miller and Amr Mudani in Munich, Germany, Ger Mulson in Berlin, Edith M., letterer at the United Nations, and Eric Tecker, Ellen Nickmeyer, Robert Burns, Matthew Lee and Arlene Superville in Washington, contributed to this report. Adblock test, why?